a lot of people watching this have probably seen this swirl on social media about a connection between Justin Bieber and Diddy. This has been going on actually for years, where people have wondered what kind of a relationship did they have, and really what people are asking is, did Diddy molest Justin Bieber?
You want, you know what I mean?
100%.
You know, I guess that's what I was getting at when I was talking about those tough years, is in a way, you were punishing yourself because you didn't have the answers, right?
I think so. That's a good way to put it, yeah. I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on.
The atmosphere in the federal courthouse was electric with tension as Sean Diddy Combs entered day 2 of what would become the most explosive celebrity trial of the decade. What started as a routine proceedings quickly spiraled into chaos when news broke that Justin Bieber had publicly sided with Cassie Ventura in a social media statement that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The moment Diddy's eyes locked onto his phone screen, witnesses say his entire demeanor shifted from confident mogul to cornered animal. Court officers who had handled hundreds of high-profile cases later described the scene as unlike anything they'd ever witnessed. The transformation was so dramatic that even seasoned court reporters stopped typing to stare. Security footage from that day would later show Diddy's hands trembling as he gripped the edge of the defendant's table, his knuckles turning white. Under the pressure.
With your wife. Do you think the person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction? Do you feel that you were self-destructing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%, yeah. 100%. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. It would have been, yeah. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark, really dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life.
This is a montage that was shared by Evie Magazine. They do great work on their TikTok of Justin Bieber, again, just 15 years old, in Hollywood, surrounded by a bunch of adults. And you let me know if any of this registers to you as normal. Take a listen.
Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
The federal courtroom, typically a place of measured legal discourse, suddenly felt more like a powder keg ready to explode. Veteran court stenographer Maria Rodriguez, who had documented over 500 high-profile cases, later told reporters that she had never seen a defendant's physical transformation happen so quickly or dramatically. The expensive Italian leather briefcase that Diddy had carried confidently into the courtroom now sat untouched as his focus shifted entirely to the small screen that would change everything. His breathing became shallow and rapid, a physiological response that medical experts later explained was consistent with someone experiencing an acute stress reaction.
Yeah, so, yeah. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Do you realize how important your story is? And the fact that you're sitting here today telling it, man, I mean, I have to say thank you because someone who's really, every time I have a conversation with someone who's been through this unique type of experience, I'm searching for some kind of truth that can help, right? And the fact you're sitting here today and being so honest and open is really important. And I just want to share that with you, man. It's like, you're right, this isn't an interview, this is an opportunity for you.
The irony wasn't lost on legal observers that the same technology Diddy had, used to build his empire, social media, celebrity endorsements, and public relations campaigns, was now being weaponized against him in the most public way possible. Entertainment lawyers watching the proceedings noted that this represented a fundamental shift in how celebrity legal battles would be fought, with social media becoming a powerful tool for victims to level the playing field against powerful defendants. The packed gallery of reporters, legal experts, and members of the public created an atmosphere more reminiscent of a major sporting event than a federal trial, with every gesture and expression scrutinized and analyzed.
Just 13 years old, and I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher, and he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor, which is why his adorable premiere music video that I showed you guys last week, entitled One Time, they had created this storyline of these emotional breakdowns, and when it came to Justin Bieber, people wanted to know, what were those breakdowns really about, okay? And so I'll give you just one example of what I'm speaking about. He did an interview back in 2020 with Zane Lowe. I think this was on Apple Music. And he was speaking about another young artist that was coming up, Billie Eilish, and Eilish. And he was basically speaking about how he wanted to protect her because she was now another young person, a rising artist in the industry. And sort of out of nowhere, he became quite overcome with emotion. Take a listen.
Did you feel protective of her?
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So, yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So
What happened next would not only destroy his carefully crafted public image, but potentially seal his fate in this landmark case that has captivated millions worldwide. The ripple effects would extend far beyond the courtroom, influencing how the entertainment industry handles allegations of abuse and control, and setting precedents for how social media statements could impact ongoing legal proceedings. Federal prosecutors later revealed that they had anticipated this moment, having monitored social media activity related to the case, and prepared contingency plans for various scenarios involving public statements from key figures in the entertainment industry. The morning had begun with unusual security measures that hinted at trouble ahead. Federal marshals conducted extra sweeps of the courtroom, and metal detectors were recalibrated twice before opening to the public. Court insiders revealed that Diddy's legal team had received anonymous tips about potential disruptions, leading to heightened security protocols. The defendant himself appeared unusually agitated during pretrial consultations, constantly checking multiple phones and dismissing his attorney's attempts at last-minute strategy discussions. Cassie arrived, surrounded by what appeared to be a private security detail disguised as friends and family members. Her legal team carried themselves with the confidence of people holding winning cards, occasionally exchanging knowing glances that didn't go unnoticed by court observers. The night before, federal investigators had worked around the clock, analyzing social media chatter and potential threats. Special Agent Jennifer Martinez, who had coordinated security for dozens of high-profile trials, later revealed that the volume of online discussions about this case was unprecedented. The FBI's social media monitoring unit had flagged over $10,000 posts in the previous 24 hours alone, ranging from death threats to promises of disruption. This intelligence led to the decision to increase the visible security presence and implement additional screening procedures for anyone entering the courthouse. Diddy's behavior during the morning consultation with his attorneys was described by sources as erratic and confrontational. Lead defense attorney Jonathan Ashford later filed a motion describing his client's state of mind as increasingly paranoid and uncooperative, suggesting that external pressures were affecting his ability to participate in his own defense. Phone records would later show that Diddy had made over 30 calls between midnight and 6 a.m., reaching out to various contacts in the music industry, entertainment law, and crisis management. Many of these calls went unanswered, suggesting that his usual network of support was beginning to distance itself from the controversy. The prosecution had spent the previous evening in emergency sessions, reportedly preparing to introduce evidence they hadn't planned to reveal until later in the trial. District Attorney Sarah Chen and her team had received word through confidential sources that additional witnesses were prepared to come forward, emboldened by the changing public perception of the case. This intelligence prompted a complete restructuring of their presentation strategy, moving more damaging evidence to earlier in the proceedings to capitalize on the momentum. Multiple sources confirmed that federal investigators had been monitoring social media activity related to the case, anticipating potential witness intimidation or public pressure campaigns. The Department of Justice had assembled a specialized team combining traditional prosecutors with experts in cybercrime and social media manipulation, recognizing that modern high-profile cases required new approaches to evidence collection and presentation. Digital forensics experts had been working for months to preserve electronic communications and social media posts that could be relevant to the case. The judge herself had reviewed additional security protocols after receiving briefings about online threats and potential courtroom disruptions. Judge Patricia Malone, known for her no-nonsense approach to courtroom management, had consulted with federal marshals and local law enforcement to develop contingency plans for various scenarios. Her decision to limit media access and implement stricter gallery management reflected the unique challenges posed by cases involving social media-savvy defendants and victims. Even the jury selection had been influenced by concerns about outside pressure, with extra vetting procedures implemented to ensure jurors couldn't be influenced by social media campaigns or celebrity endorsements. The court had taken the unprecedented step of providing jurors with devices that blocked social media access while allowing necessary communication with family members. While legal proceedings continued inside the courthouse, Justin Bieber's Instagram post was creating a digital earthquake that would forever change the dynamics of this case. The carefully worded statement, posted at exactly 10:47 a.m. Eastern Time, reached over 50 million people within the first hour. Industry insiders revealed that Bieber had consulted with multiple legal experts and crisis management specialists before publishing the post, ensuring every word was legally sound while maximally impactful. The statement didn't just express support for Cassie. It included specific details about incidents Bieber claimed to have witnessed during his teenage years when Diddy served as his mentor. The post began with a childhood photo of Bieber and Diddy at a recording studio, both smiling at the camera. But the caption transformed the innocent image into something more sinister. "Looking back at this photo now, I see things differently," Bieber wrote. "What I thought was mentorship and industry guidance was actually something much darker. I witnessed behavior that I now understand was controlling, manipulative, and harmful to the people I cared about." The contrast between the happy photo and the serious allegations created a powerful visual narrative that resonated across social media platforms. Screenshots of the post flooded Twitter, TikTok, and other platforms faster than Diddy's crisis management team could respond. Within minutes, Bieber speaks out and Truth About Diddy were trending worldwide. The speed of information spread caught even experienced crisis management professionals off guard. Celebrity publicist Amanda Torres, who had handled numerous high-profile scandals, later called it a masterclass in how to break the internet with a single post. The timing was particularly strategic, posted during peak social media hours when maximum engagement was guaranteed. Major news networks interrupted regular programming to report on the development, with legal analysts calling it a game-changing moment that could influence jury perception even if the evidence wasn't admissible in court. CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC all dedicated special coverage to analyzing the implications of Bieber's statement. Legal experts appeared on talk shows throughout the day, debating whether social media statements from potential witnesses could constitute jury tampering or if they represented legitimate public discourse about ongoing cases. Entertainment industry. Executives began distancing themselves from Diddy within hours, with several planned collaborations quietly canceled. Record label stocks fluctuated as investors tried to gauge the potential financial impact of the scandal. Warner Music Group, Universal Music Group, and Sony Music all saw their stock prices dip in after-hours trading as financial analysts speculated about potential liability exposure and reputational damage. Streaming platforms reported unusual patterns in listening behavior, with Diddy's music seeing both increased streams from curious listeners and massive playlist removals from users protesting his alleged actions. Other celebrities who had remained silent about the case suddenly found themselves under pressure to take sides, with fans demanding they clarify their positions. The entertainment industry's typical strategy of staying neutral in legal controversies became impossible to maintain, as social media users tagged hundreds of artists, actors, and industry figures demanding they respond to Bieber's allegations. The hashtag #JusticeForCassie began trending worldwide, accompanied by older photos and videos of Diddy and Cassie that took on new meaning in light of the allegations. Music industry insiders reported a flurry of private conversations as artists and executives tried to determine whether supporting either side could impact their careers. Talent agencies held emergency meetings to assess their client rosters and potential exposure. Management companies began reviewing contracts and association clauses to determine their legal obligations and options. The Post had effectively weaponized celebrity influence in a way that traditional legal proceedings couldn't match, creating pressure that extended far beyond the courtroom walls. The exact moment Diddy saw Bieber's post has been described by eyewitnesses as watching a controlled demolition in slow motion. Court artist sketches from that day capture the progression from shock to rage to complete loss of control. His breathing became so labored that a court officer quietly moved closer, concerned about a possible medical emergency. The transformation was so complete that his own mother, sitting in the gallery, later told reporters she barely recognized her son. Security experts analyzed the incident frame by frame, noting how Diddy's body language shifted from defensive to aggressive in less than 30 seconds. The sequence began when Diddy's phone, which he had been checking intermittently despite court rules, lit up with notifications. His legal team had initially tried to confiscate all devices, but Diddy had insisted on maintaining contact with his crisis management team. The first sign of trouble came when his face went completely pale, the color draining from his cheeks as if someone had literally pulled the plug on his composure. Court reporter Janet Williams, positioned just feet away from the defense table, later described the moment as watching someone receive the worst news of their life in complete silence. The water glass he shattered wasn't just knocked over. Forensic analysis showed he slammed his fist down with enough force to crack the table beneath it. The sound echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot, causing several jurors to jump in their seats and the gallery to erupt in startled gasps. Glass fragments scattered across legal documents and created additional drama as court officers rushed to assess whether medical attention was needed. Audio equipment in the courtroom picked up whispered threats that lip readers later transcribed, revealing the depth of his rage toward both Bieber and Cassie. Professional lip reader Sarah Chen, hired by multiple news outlets to analyze the courtroom footage, confirmed that Diddy had made specific threats about ending careers and ensuring that both of them pay for this betrayal. These statements, captured on multiple camera angles, would later become crucial evidence in potential witness intimidation charges. His legal team's panic was evident as they formed a physical barrier around him, with the lead attorney actually grabbing Diddy's shoulders to prevent him from standing up again. Attorney Jonathan Ashford later described the moment as trying to contain a human hurricane, explaining that Diddy's physical strength, combined with his emotional state, made him nearly impossible to control. The usually composed legal team looked more like crisis counselors than attorneys as they desperately tried to manage their client's breakdown. The judge's decision to call an immediate recess wasn't just procedural. She later admitted she feared for everyone's safety if the situation escalated further. Judge Patricia Malone had witnessed thousands of courtroom outbursts in her 25-year career, but nothing had prepared her for the intensity of Diddy's reaction. Her decision to clear the jury immediately reflected her concern that the outburst could irreparably prejudice the proceedings and potentially create grounds for a mistrial. During the brief recess, Diddy paced the small conference room like a caged animal, at one point punching the wall hard enough to leave a dent. Court officers stationed outside the room reported hearing furniture being moved and what sounded like papers being thrown. His attorneys later described those 15 minutes as the longest of their careers, as they watched their client's case implode in real time while being powerless to stop it. The dent in the wall, photographed by court officials, became a symbol of how completely Diddy had lost control. When he returned to the courtroom, the change was even more dramatic. The confident music mogul who had entered that morning was gone, replaced by someone who looked defeated and desperate. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his tie askew, and his usually perfect grooming showed signs of the stress he was experiencing. The contrast with his entrance just hours earlier couldn't have been more stark, and everyone in the courtroom could see that something fundamental had shifted in the proceedings. When proceedings resumed, the prosecution unveiled evidence that seemed almost too perfectly timed to be coincidental. Text message records dating back 7 years revealed a pattern of behavior that aligned precisely with Bieber's public statement and Cassie's testimony. Digital forensics experts had traced the messages through multiple phone changes and carrier switches, creating an unbreakable chain of evidence. The messages showed not just controlling behavior, but specific threats about industry blacklisting that gave new weight to Bieber's decision to speak out publicly. The prosecution's presentation was methodical and devastating. Lead prosecutor Sarah Chen walked the jury through a timeline that stretched from 2016 to 2023, showing how Diddy's alleged control over Cassie had evolved and intensified over time. Phone records revealed that Diddy had made calls to various industry executives within hours of learning about Cassie's initial complaints, potentially supporting allegations of witness intimidation. The calls, made to record label presidents, talent agency heads, and music industry lawyers, followed a suspicious pattern that suggested coordination and planning. Email chains between Diddy's representatives and record label executives contained thinly veiled references to managing the Cassie situation and ensuring industry solidarity. One particularly damaging email from Diddy's assistant to a major label executive read, "Boss wants to make sure everyone understands the importance of unity during challenging times. Some people need to remember where their loyalty should lie." The email's timestamp showed it was sent just hours after Cassie had first contacted attorneys about potential legal action. Financial records subpoenaed by the prosecution showed payments to private investigation firms tasked with monitoring Cassie's activities and communications for years after their professional relationship ended. The payments, totaling over $2 million across multiple firms, were disguised as security consulting and brand protection services. Bank records showed regular monthly payments to at least 3 different investigation companies, with payment amounts increasing significantly whenever Cassie was rumored to be considering speaking publicly about her experiences. The prosecution revealed they had been building this evidence collection for over 2 years, with federal investigators working closely with cybercrime specialists to ensure digital evidence integrity. FBI computer analysis and response team experts had used advanced techniques to recover deleted communications and trace digital footprints across multiple platforms and devices. The thoroughness of their investigation suggested that federal authorities had been taking these allegations seriously long before they became public knowledge. Multiple industry figures had provided testimony to federal investigators months before the trial began, creating a comprehensive picture of alleged and systematic abuse and control. These witnesses, whose identities were initially kept confidential for their protection, included former employees, industry executives, and other artists who claimed to have witnessed similar behavior patterns. The prosecution indicated that additional witnesses were prepared to testify, emboldened by the changing public perception and Bieber's brave stance. The defense team's frantic objections to the evidence presentation suggested they had been caught completely off guard by the prosecution's preparation level. Attorney Jonathan Ashford's usually confident demeanor cracked as he struggled to challenge evidence that appeared to be meticulously documented and legally bulletproof. His objections were consistently overruled, and his attempts to cast doubt on the digital evidence fell flat when faced with expert testimony about the forensic techniques used to preserve and verify the communications. As court adjourned that day, legal experts were already calling it one of the most devastating days for a defendant in recent memory, with social media amplifying every detail to a global audience hungry for justice and accountability in the entertainment industry. The combination of Bieber's public statement and the prosecution's evidence created a perfect storm that seemed to leave Diddy's defense with few viable options. The impact extended far beyond the courtroom walls. Entertainment industry associations began drafting new codes of conduct and reporting procedures for abuse allegations. Talent agencies implemented additional protections for young artists, and record labels faced pressure from investors to review their artist management practices. The case had become a catalyst for broader conversations about power dynamics in the entertainment industry and the protection of vulnerable artists, particularly young performers who might be susceptible to manipulation and control by powerful industry figures.